Hey everyone. Tonight we ride into a land where winter was the real outlaw. Forget six-shooters, saloon brawls, or Indian raids because more cowboys were killed by the cold than by bullets or blades. Imagine herds of 10,000 cattle frozen stiff on the prairie, whole towns buried under snowdrifts, and men waking in bedrolls beside companions who had turned to ice. You won't hear of rodeos or dusty duels here, only the groan of horses pressed against shivering bodies, the hiss of burning flesh from fire pits gone wrong, and the silence of men who smeared themselves in grease to look like walking corpses just to see another dawn. This isn't about Western legends or dime novel heroes. It's about cowboys stripped naked to survive, whiskey measured like medicine to keep blood flowing, and desperate rituals that blurred the line between life and death. If you want unflinching stories of human endurance, sacrifice, and survival pushed past sanity, hit like and subscribe. And in the comments, tell me, where are you watching from, and would you have lasted a single night out there? Now, hold tight and follow me into the frozen frontier where cowboys didn't just fight winter, they fought death itself. You stand on the vast, unforgiving plains, the wind a cruel sculptor of snow and ice, biting through every layer, seeking the warmth within your very bones. This isn't just cold. It is an all-consuming presence. A silent hunter that stalks the frontier more relentlessly than any human or beast. You feel the profound quiet of a landscape utterly surrendered to its power. A silence so deep it hums with the unspoken threats of the wilderness. Here, in the Wyoming of 1870, as twilight bleeds into a night that promises temperatures plummeting to a brutal 22 degrees, you realize the sheer, terrifying vulnerability of your existence. There are no sturdy cabins, no thick blankets, no tents to shield you from this relentless assault. There is only you, the vast white expanse, and the chilling certainty that the night will demand a toll. You learn quickly, with a chilling dread, that this invisible enemy claimed more lives than all the notorious dangers of the Wild West combined. Forget the romanticized gunfights, the chaos of stampedes, or the fleeting terror of raids. It was the winter, a season of insidious beauty and raw, indifferent power that served as the true serial killer of this land. Every year, thousands upon thousands were swallowed by the frozen soil, their dreams and struggles silenced by the pervasive chill. You can almost see their ghosts, etched into the howling winds, their stories whispered through the rattling dry grass. The prairie, a symbol of freedom and endless possibility, transformed into an immense, icy graveyard, where entire herds of 10,000 cattle could freeze solid, standing like ghostly statues, their last breath visible in the frosty air. Imagine the sheer scale of such a loss, not just of life, but of livelihood, of hope, all rendered still by the relentless cold. Among those who faced this monstrous adversary, one man stands out, his very name a testament to his ordeal, Tom Frozen-Face Morrison. You might see him on the trail, his face a canvas of deep, puckered scars, a map of his battles with the frost. These aren't the dramatic wounds of a bullet or a blade. These are the slow, creeping etchings of frostbite. Souvenirs of nights pushed past the limits of human endurance. Each scar tells a story, a chilling reminder of the raw, brutal negotiation he undertook with death itself. A silent vow never to surrender. You wonder about the tales held within those lines, the desperate measures he must have taken, the unspeakable moments he endured to carry those marks of survival. His presence is a stark, living warning, a quiet testament to the fact that to simply exist in this frozen frontier, you must be willing to do things so extreme, so utterly desperate, that even the most hardened modern soldiers would hesitate to contemplate them. His eyes, though weary, hold a distant, knowing glint, the look of a man who has stared into the void and somehow, impossibly, walked back. You feel a shiver, not entirely from the cold, but from the realization of the immense journey you are about to embark upon, into the heart of their unimaginable resilience. As the biting cold deepens, seeping into your very soul, you begin to understand the desperate, primal logic of survival that took hold on this frontier. You are no longer an individual, but a part of a collective struggle, where the warmth of another human body becomes your most vital asset. Imagine, then, the raw vulnerability of stripping away every single layer of clothing, shedding the meager protection against the elements, until you stand utterly naked in the brutal cold. It is a profound act of surrender, a rejection of modesty, a sacrifice of comfort, all in the service of staying alive. You find yourself in a tight cluster with 3 or 4 other men, huddling together, a primal instinct overriding all social conventions. The shared bedroll, a rough canvas affair, becomes your sanctuary, a fragile cocoon against the indifferent vastness. You are pressed so close that individual identities blur, and you become a single, multi-limbed creature, sharing breath, sharing warmth, sharing the very essence of life. The coldest among you, often the one most depleted by the day's relentless work or the one whose shivering shakes the very ground, is instinctively, yet firmly, pushed into the very center of this living huddle. You feel the bodies on either side of you, a pulsating, radiating heat, absorbing their vitality, drawing sustenance from their proximity. It is an uncomfortable intimacy, a desperate, almost violent, grappling for warmth in the face of annihilation. A Texas trail boss, a man surely hardened by countless trials, once wrote of wrestling the devil all night long. You imagine his words echoing in the frigid air, a vivid description of the agonizing struggle to keep a weaker companion alive, the ceaseless vigilance required to maintain that fragile spark of life. You can almost feel the tense muscles, the strained breath, the desperate prayers murmured into the suffocating closeness of the bedroll. Every shift, every small adjustment, is a negotiation with death, a silent pact to fight on, to pull one more breath into lungs that ache with the cold. The air inside your shared bedroll becomes a sanctuary, a miraculous bubble where temperatures can soar up to 60 degrees higher than the murderous chill outside. This is not just a comfort. It is the fine, shimmering line between existence and oblivion, a breath away from the freezing depths that await outside. You are acutely aware of the sacrifices being made, the profound discomfort endured by each man for the collective good. The individual's ease is secondary. The survival of the group is paramount. This deep, unspoken bond forged in the crucible of extreme cold transcends mere camaraderie. It is a testament to the profound resilience of the human spirit, a stark reminder that in the face of absolute despair, the most basic human connection, the simple warmth of another, can be the ultimate salvation. You lie there, feeling the rhythmic breathing of your companions, the subtle shifts of their bodies, a silent symphony of shared struggle. The raw air still nips at your exposed skin where the blanket doesn't quite meet. But the core of you, nestled amongst these desperate, courageous souls, feels a warmth that is both physical and deeply, profoundly human. And as you drift towards a fitful sleep, you know that this fragile warmth, this shared humanity, is all that stands between you and the eternal stillness of the frozen frontier. As the frigid air continues its relentless assault, slicing through the stillness of the night, you begin to understand that survival in this harsh landscape demands an imaginative, almost symbiotic, relationship with the creatures that share your world. When human warmth is not enough, or when solitude is unavoidable, the very animals that carry you across the vast plains become your last, best hope. You find yourself seeking out the massive, comforting bulk of your horse, their sturdy bodies radiating a life-sustaining heat that offers a desperate reprieve from the encroaching cold. Imagine, then, the profound intimacy of lying naked, stripped bare once more, pressing your entire body against the warm, muscular flank of your horse. You become one with the beast, a living furnace of 101 degrees, its thick coat a shaggy, vital blanket against the piercing cold. You feel the deep thrum of its powerful heartbeat, a steady rhythm against your own racing pulse. The smell of horse, earthy and raw, fills your nostrils, a comforting aroma that speaks of life and resilience in this desolate, frozen expanse. Its breath, warm and humid, mists the air around you, creating a tiny pocket of shared warmth. You are aware of the immense power contained within this creature, its vast strength and its primal instincts. Yet you surrender yourself to its silent guardianship, hoping its warmth will ward off the predatory grip of the frost. This method, while offering a potent source of heat, is a perilous dance with danger. You are acutely aware of the risks, the immense weight of the animal, the sudden, violent kick that could mean a broken bone or worse, the terrifying possibility of being dragged to an unimaginable death if the horse, startled by a phantom sound or a sudden shift in the wind, were to bolt into the blackness. Each twitch of its muscle, each shift of its weight, sends a ripple of apprehension through you, a subtle reminder of the untamed power you rely upon. Yet, the choice is clear: face the cold, certain death, or gamble on the unpredictable nature of a beast, trusting in the silent language of shared desperation. You hear stories, whispered around crackling fires on slightly less frigid nights, of men like Cookie Williams, a legend of the frontier who survived 15 brutal winters by making his horse, a sturdy mare named Buttercup, his devoted bed partner. You can almost picture him, his weathered face pressed against her warm hide, finding solace and survival in her gentle presence. He, and men like him, developed an almost supernatural intuition, a way of judging the severity of the cold not by the mercury in a thermometer, but by the subtle shifts in his horse's behavior, by how tightly Buttercup pressed her immense body against his, a silent communication of shared need. The more intense the chill, the closer she would nestle, her warmth a palpable assurance that another night might just be conquered. As you lie there, feeling the heat emanating from your equine protector, the soft rustle of its breath, the subtle movements of its powerful frame, you feel a profound sense of dependence, an ancient connection to the natural world. The horse, usually a tool of labor and transport, transforms into a living, breathing testament to survival, an indispensable ally against the vast indifference of winter. You understand, with a clarity born of extreme circumstance, that the line between human and animal blurs when existence itself is on the line. And as a fragile sleep threatens to pull you under, you silently thank this loyal beast, knowing that its warmth is the thread, however tenuous, that tethers you to the promise of another dawn. The lure of fire, its primal warmth and dancing light, is an undeniable comfort in this land of ice and shadow. But on the frozen frontier, even this most ancient of allies demanded a profound respect, transforming into a tool of survival so precise, so dangerous, that it held the power to both save and destroy you in the same breath. You learn, with a growing sense of dread, that building a simple fire above ground offered fleeting, inconsistent warmth, quickly stolen by the insatiable wind. True warmth required a deeper commitment, a dangerous dance with the earth itself. Imagine yourself digging, hands numb with cold, into the impossibly hard, frozen soil, chipping away at the earth to create a pit beneath the place where your bedroll will eventually lie. It is a laborious, exhausting task, made even more difficult by the brutal temperatures. You feel the dull ache in your muscles, the sting in your fingers, but the promise of sustained warmth drives you onward. Once the pit is complete, a careful fire is kindled, allowed to burn down to a bed of glowing coals, a subterranean heart of warmth pulsing beneath your fragile shelter. You arrange a layer of dirt or stones over the coals, then your bedroll, creating a crude but potentially life-saving, radiant heat system. Yet, this ingenuity comes with a terrifying, almost unbearable, risk. The margin for error is razor-thin, a terrifying gamble with your very life. One wrong calculation, a moment of inattention, and the same heat meant to save you could instead become the instrument of your agony. You stand at a precipice, staring into the heart of a dilemma, freeze to death in the silent, creeping grip of the cold, or roast alive, slowly and horrifyingly. From the heat beneath you, the very air around you, once filled with the promise of warmth, becomes a silent threat. Carbon monoxide, the invisible killer, would often accumulate in these enclosed, makeshift shelters. You might awaken, not to the warmth you craved, but to a terrifying paralysis, fully conscious, fully aware, as the heat from beneath your bedroll slowly, mercilessly, began to cook you alive. The horror of such an end. To be trapped in your own burning skin, unable to move, unable to cry out, is a chilling testament to the extreme conditions faced by these men. You hear stories, whispered in hushed tones, of those who dared to gamble and paid a terrible price. Burning Bill Mackenzie, a name spoken with a mixture of awe and terror, survived his ordeal, but carried the searing memory, quite literally, across his back forever. His skin, a testament to the fire's embrace, bore the permanent scars, a constant, physical reminder of the night he danced with death and emerged, somehow, victorious, yet forever marked. Despite the horrific possibilities, despite the vivid, scarring evidence of its dangers, many still chose this perilous path. You understand why. In the face of a certain agonizing death by freezing, the terrifying gamble of the fire pit, with its slim chance of salvation, often felt like the only choice. As you prepare your own meager bedroll for the night, the thought of the glowing embers beneath you is a complex mix of hope and profound fear. You carefully gauge the distance, the insulation, praying that your calculations are true, that the warmth will be life-giving, not life-taking. You can almost feel the dry heat radiating upwards, a silent whisper against your skin, a constant reminder of the fine line you walk. The faint scent of smoke, mingling with the crisp, cold air, is both comforting and unsettling. You lie there, listening to the crackle of the unseen fire, its warmth a fragile shield, its danger a persistent, unsettling presence. And as you drift into a fitful sleep, you understand that in this frozen world, even the most basic elements can be wielded with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel, or turn with the sudden, merciless force of a betrayer. The fire pit, a beacon of hope and a harbinger of terror, stands as a testament to the desperate ingenuity and the profound risks these cowboys faced every single night. In this frozen landscape, where every breath feels like a struggle against the encroaching cold, you discover that even the most familiar comforts can be repurposed into desperate tools of survival. Whiskey, often seen as a source of revelry or solace, transforms into a precise, almost scientific instrument for biological heating. It becomes less a drink and more a potent fuel, a liquid lifeline designed to ignite a temporary warmth from within. You watch as the trail boss, his face etched with the weariness of endless winters, carefully pours a measure of amber liquid into a small tin cup. This is not for pleasure, not for drowning sorrows, but for survival. Each shot of the potent 100-proof whiskey is precisely calculated, a measured dose of internal combustion. You take your turn, the raw burn of the spirit searing your throat as it travels down. Almost immediately, you feel a spreading warmth, a flush that begins in your core and radiates outwards, pushing back against the chilling tendrils of the cold. It is a brief, almost miraculous sensation, a deceptive comfort that lasts just long enough typically for about 3 precious hours, raising your core body temperature just enough to stave off the initial stages of hypothermia. But the night is long and unforgiving, and one shot is rarely enough. You understand that this warmth is a fleeting illusion, a borrowed energy that will soon dissipate, leaving you colder and more vulnerable than before. So, a second shot is a vital necessity, often timed with chilling precision for the deepest hours of the night. Around 2 a.m., when the cold is most profound and your body's defenses are at their weakest. This second dose, another fiery jolt, carries you through the final, brutal stretch until the first, faint glimmer of dawn. It is a precise dance with your own physiology, a careful calibration of alcohol's power to manipulate your internal thermostat, to trick your body into believing it is warmer than it truly is. Legends whisper of men like Whiskey Tom Patterson, a figure who became known as a winter ghost due to his uncanny ability to navigate the most brutal cold, seemingly immune to its grasp. You imagine him, his eyes clear despite the alcohol, his movements deliberate, a master of this dangerous art. He understood the intricate balance, the delicate timing, the subtle nuances of his own body's response. His survival was a testament to his precise calculations, a testament to his almost supernatural ability to turn a potent intoxicant into a life-saving elixir. Yet, you are painfully aware of the immense peril woven into this method. The line between survival and self-destruction is incredibly fine. A tightrope walk over an abyss of 2 distinct horrors. One misstep, one extra sip, one lapse in timing, and the very liquid meant to save you could instead deliver a swift, unforgiving death, either through the unforgiving grip of the cold as its deceptive warmth quickly fades, or through the insidious poison of alcohol poisoning. You would either succumb to the chilling embrace of the wilderness, or your body would simply shut down, overwhelmed by the very fuel you sought for warmth. It is a choice born of utter desperation, a gamble with your own life for the chance to see another sunrise. As you lie wrapped in your bedroll, the internal heat of the whiskey, a fragile shield against the encroaching chill, you feel the subtle tremor in your limbs, a faint buzz in your head. The world outside seems to recede, muffled by the internal warmth. You focus on the rhythm of your breath, the slow ebb and flow of the warmth, counting the hours until the next vital dose. The scent of raw alcohol lingers on your tongue, a bitter reminder of the extreme measures required to simply exist. You understand that in this frozen frontier, every resource, every substance, is evaluated not for its conventional purpose, but for its potential to keep the spark of life flickering against the relentless darkness. And as the whiskey works its temporary magic, you close your eyes, trusting in a desperate alchemy, and praying for the coming dawn. When the vast cold of the frontier closes in, you learn that even the simplest elements of the earth and the gifts of nature can be transformed into vital, if perilous, weapons against death. The very stones beneath your feet and the hides of the great buffalo become tools, demanding a profound understanding of their properties, a wisdom born of harsh experience and unforgiving lessons. Imagine the tedious, yet vital, ritual of gathering stones. Not just any stones, but specific ones, carefully selected for their ability to absorb and radiate heat. These are then heated, often in the dwindling embers of a small fire or directly over a carefully managed flame. You watch with keen attention, knowing that the slightest miscalculation can turn a potential lifesaver into a deadly hazard. Once heated to a precise temperature, these stones are carefully wrapped and placed strategically inside your bedroll, transforming your meager sleeping space into a small, private microclimate, a fragile pocket of warmth against the vast, indifferent chill. You feel the radiating heat, a deep, penetrating warmth that promises a few precious hours of reprieve. Yet, this method is fraught with its own dangers, a delicate balancing act on the edge of catastrophe. If the stones are heated too intensely, the trapped heat within your bedroll can become unbearable, risking severe burns or, in the worst cases, causing the stone itself to crack or even explode from the thermal stress, sending dangerous shards flying. Conversely, if the stones are not heated sufficiently, or if their heat dissipates too quickly, they become utterly useless, mere cold lumps that offer no defense against the encroaching frost, leaving you vulnerable to its insidious grip. Stories speak of Stoneface Rodriguez, a man whose face, like Tom Morrison's, bore the permanent, painful marks of burn scars. Yet, despite the physical cost, he swore by his method, claiming with an unwavering conviction that those very stones, for all their dangers, had repeatedly saved him from the slow, agonizing death of frostbite. His scars were not marks of defeat, but badges of hard-won survival, a testament to his desperate ingenuity. Alongside the ancient wisdom of heated stones, the buffalo coat stands as another formidable, yet complex, defense. Imagine donning a garment that weighs a staggering 40 pounds, a massive, shaggy mantle crafted from the hide of a mighty buffalo. It is a formidable barrier against the wind and snow, its thick, insulating fur trapping pockets of air, creating a powerful thermal shield around your body. You feel its immense weight, a comforting pressure that speaks of protection and resilience. The coarse, shaggy hair brushes against your skin, a constant reminder of the raw power of nature harnessed for survival. However, this impressive warmth comes with a deadly paradox. While the coat excels at trapping heat, it also traps moisture. As you exert yourself, as your body fights to stay warm, you inevitably sweat. This sweat, unable to escape the dense, insulating layers of the coat, then freezes against your skin. You feel the insidious chill of dampness giving way to the biting sting of ice, a cold that originates from within your own clothing, turning your protective garment into a suffocating, lethal trap. Many a cowboy, caught unawares or unable to shed the coat in time, succumbed to the cold that grew within their own shelter. You also learn that the size of the man often dictated the efficiency of the coat. Smaller men, with a higher surface area to mass ratio, surprisingly found greater benefit from wearing heavier coats, optimizing the trapped air for maximum warmth. It was a brutal education in physics, learned in the harshest of classrooms. As you wrap yourself in what meager coverings you have, or prepare your stones for the long night ahead, you understand the profound wisdom and the inherent dangers in these primitive weapons. The quiet hum of the heated stone next to you, the rough texture of your layered clothing, all speak of a desperate, meticulous struggle against an overwhelming force. You feel the weight of tradition, of trial and error, of countless lives lost and saved, pressing down upon you. And as the cold seeps in, you cling to these ancient methods, knowing they represent a fragile but potent defiance against the endless, icy night. When the blizzard descends, transforming the vast plains into a swirling chaos of white, obliterating all sense of direction and scale, you quickly learn that the very element that threatens to bury you alive can also offer the most profound, albeit perilous, sanctuary. The snow itself, the relentless enemy, can become your only true shelter, provided you understand its unforgiving language. Building a snow cave is not merely digging a hole. It is an intricate act of engineering, a desperate negotiation with the frozen world for a temporary reprieve. Imagine the sheer physical exertion, the raw effort required as you claw and dig into the densely packed snow. Your hands, stiff and aching, shovel away the heavy white mass, carving out a space just large enough to contain your shivering body. You feel the icy flakes clinging to your clothes, melting against your skin, and then freezing again. But the promise of a sheltered space drives you onward. The silence of the falling snow is replaced by the rhythmic crunch of your efforts, a solitary sound swallowed by the maelstrom. This hastily constructed sanctuary, however, holds a terrifying duality. It can be either a lifeline or a tomb, depending on your meticulous attention to detail. You are acutely aware of the delicate balance required. A cave dug too small risks suffocation as your breath depletes the precious oxygen, turning your refuge into a sealed coffin. Yet, a cave constructed too large offers insufficient insulation, allowing the vast cold to penetrate its walls, ensuring a slow, agonizing death by exposure. And, most terrifyingly, a roof or wall dug too thin could collapse under the relentless weight of the snow or a sudden shift in the wind, burying you alive beneath tons of icy powder. Each stroke of your makeshift shovel, each carefully packed block of snow, becomes a life or death decision. The very design of the snow cave is a lesson in primitive thermodynamics. You learn that the entrance must be meticulously constructed lower than the actual sleeping platform. This seemingly counterintuitive design is critical cold air. Being denser, naturally sinks and collects at the lowest point, allowing the warmer, lighter air to rise and be trapped around your body, creating a vital, if tiny, pocket of warmth. You can almost feel the cold pooling at the entrance, a visible barrier separating you from the lethal elements outside. The silence within the completed cave is profound, a muffled, almost sacred hush that contrasts sharply with the howling chaos raging just outside its walls. Stories of legendary resilience echo through this frozen realm. Tales of men like Charlie Snow King Mackenzie, whose very name speaks of his mastery over this treacherous art. You hear of him enduring an unimaginable 6 days trapped within the confines of such a snow tomb, a testament to both his skill and his sheer force of will. When finally rescued, he emerged from his icy sarcophagus not as a hero, but as a ghost of his former self hallucinating, teetering on the brink of madness. His mind scarred by the claustrophobic darkness and the relentless fight for survival. His eyes, you imagine, held a distant, haunted quality, forever seeing the swirling white chaos. As you settle into your own crude snow cave, the walls pressing in around you, you feel the chill dampness permeate your clothing, but also the subtle, almost imperceptible rise in temperature. The muffled roar of the blizzard outside becomes a distant, abstract threat, a constant reminder of the world you have temporarily defied. The earthy, damp smell of melting snow and ice fills your nostrils, a primal scent of desperate survival. You lie there, listening to the drip, drip, drip of moisture from the ceiling, a fragile clock ticking away the hours until dawn. You are suspended between the terror of entrapment and the desperate hope of salvation, understanding with chilling clarity that this ingenious shelter is both your salvation and, potentially, your grave. When the cold threatens to strip away not just your warmth, but your very identity, you witness men resorting to rituals so extreme, so utterly primal, that they blur the line between human and beast, between life and a ghastly imitation of death. This is the realm of the Grease Man, a desperate act of transformation that required an almost unbearable commitment to survive. Imagine the figure of Tom Frozen-Face Morrison, his name already etched in the annals of grim survival. You watch as he performs his nightly ritual, a meticulous and almost grotesque anointing. He smears his entire body, from head to toe, with a thick, malodorous mixture of rendered bear grease and sticky pine resin. It is a slow, deliberate process, covering every inch of his exposed skin, creating an impermeable barrier against the elements. You can almost smell the pungent, animalistic odor, mingling with the sharp, resinous scent of pine, a smell that clings to him like a second skin, a constant, visceral presence. The grease is cold and clammy at first, but as he spreads it, it forms a thick, insulating layer, a desperate shield against the world. Once coated, he becomes a disturbing, almost spectral figure. His skin gleams unnaturally in the faint moonlight, reflecting the snow with an eerie luminescence. The heavy, greasy layer repels snow and sleet, allowing it to slide harmlessly off his body, ensuring he remains dry even in the most furious blizzards. This seemingly simple act of lubrication creates an unparalleled barrier, a testament to his raw ingenuity. He moves with a slow, deliberate gait, his silhouette transformed, earning him the chilling moniker, Walking Corpse. He smells of death, his appearance ghostly, a testament to the lengths one must go to simply see another dawn. Many others, witnessing Morrison's improbable survival, attempted to replicate his grotesque ritual. You can almost picture them, desperate figures slathering themselves in various animal fats, hoping to unlock his secret. But, tragically, most failed, often with fatal consequences. Some suffocated as their makeshift coatings sealed their pores too tightly, their bodies unable to breathe through the heavy, suffocating layers. Others froze, their grease mixtures hardening and cracking, or simply proving insufficient without the crucial, unidentifiable ingredient Morrison seemed to possess. His secret was more than just the grease. It was likely the specific blend, the precise application, and perhaps even a deep, intuitive understanding of his own body's physiology and the environment. Morrison, however, remained resolute in his practice. You notice that after he adopted this bizarre, almost pagan ritual, his severe frostbite never worsened. The jagged, etched lines on his face, the permanent reminders of his previous encounters with the cold, served as a stark contrast to the protected, almost impervious state of his body when coated in the grease. It was a trade-off, a conscious choice to embrace a repulsive appearance and a lingering stench, all for the precious gift of life. As you reflect on Morrison's transformation, the image of his greased, almost inhuman form lingers in your mind, a testament to the raw, visceral desperation of survival. You imagine the profound mental fortitude required to willingly transform yourself into something so unsettling, to endure the revulsion of others and, perhaps, of yourself. The pervasive smell of rendered fat and pine resin seems to hang in the crisp air, a constant reminder of the sacrifices made. You understand that in this frozen world, clinging to conventional notions of cleanliness or dignity can be a fatal luxury. Instead, these men, like Morrison, proved that true survival often demanded a radical shedding of such constraints, a willingness to become something almost monstrous, if it meant clinging to the fragile thread of life. His existence was a living, breathing testament to the idea that, on the frontier, the most effective defense against death often looked remarkably like death itself. In the frozen expanse, death often arrives not with a sudden, violent blow, but with an insidious, creeping slowness, a whisper that lulls you into surrender. You come to dread the signs of hypothermia more than any visible threat, for they signal the body's quiet capitulation to the cold, a terrifying descent into oblivion. It is a process that steals your warmth, then your clarity, and finally, your life. Imagine watching your own hands, or those of a companion, begin to change. First, a subtle blanching, then a strange, waxy pallor, as if the blood has retreated from the surface, leaving the skin lifeless. Then, within minutes, the lips take on a blue hue, a telltale sign that the core is struggling, that oxygen is becoming a precious, dwindling resource. You feel a creeping numbness, a loss of sensation that can be deceptively comforting at first, masking the true severity of the situation. This isn't just uncomfortable cold. It is the physical manifestation of your body's profound distress. As the hours pass, and the core temperature continues its relentless drop, you notice more disturbing symptoms. Speech, once clear and concise, becomes slurred, thick and hesitant, as if the tongue itself has become heavy and unresponsive. Simple tasks become insurmountable challenges. Men might stumble, their gait uneven and uncoordinated, their movements clumsy and uncertain. You witness the subtle shifts in consciousness, the growing confusion, the difficulty in focusing on simple questions. These are not minor inconveniences. They are ominous heralds, appearing hours before a complete collapse, before the body gives up its fight entirely. Then comes the most bizarre and chilling manifestation of hypothermia, a phenomenon that truly defies logic, paradoxical undressing. You witness men, lost in a haze of extreme cold, inexplicably begin to strip off their clothes, shedding the very layers meant to protect them. They might speak of feeling inexplicably hot, a sudden surge of false warmth washing over them, compelling them to disrobe in the biting, sub-zero air. You watch in horror, unable to comprehend this self-destructive act, knowing it is the final, desperate delusion before the end. It is a moment of profound psychological unraveling, a terrifying testament to the cold's power to twist the mind. For the trail bosses, hardened men who had faced every conceivable danger of the frontier, these subtle, creeping signs of hypothermia were a source of profound dread, far more terrifying than the immediate violence of an Indian raid or a stampede. They could fight a visible enemy. But how do you fight a foe that slowly, silently, steals the will to live? You see the fear in their eyes, the heavy burden of responsibility as they watch their men succumb. Entire crews, helpless and heartbroken, could only stand by and watch as their companions, consumed by the cold's insidious grip and guided by its final, delusional embrace, would calmly walk away from the warmth of the fire or the fragile shelter, wandering purposefully into the swirling, unforgiving storms, never to return. Their footsteps would vanish in the fresh snow, their voices lost to the howling wind, leaving behind only an unbearable silence and the chilling knowledge of their fate. As you feel the bite of the cold against your own skin, you become acutely aware of your body's responses, the subtle tremors, the slight numbness. You pay close attention to the words of your companions, listening for any slurring, any confusion, knowing that vigilance is your best, and perhaps only, defense. The very air seems to hum with the quiet threat of hypothermia, a constant, unseen predator. You understand that in this frozen wilderness, the fight for survival is not just against the external elements, but also against the deceptive whispers of your own failing body, against the insidious invitation to simply surrender to the overwhelming, silent embrace of death. The harsh truth of the buddy system, the desperate huddle for warmth you learned in an earlier, more hopeful moment, held a dark, chilling secret. For all its life-saving potential, it also presented a horror so profound, so utterly dehumanizing, that it etched itself deep into the souls of those who endured it. You eventually come to understand that in this frozen hell, the embrace of a companion could, with the cruelest irony, become the embrace of a corpse. Imagine waking from a fitful, adrenaline-fueled sleep, your body still shivering, your mind slowly stirring from the depths of exhaustion. As your consciousness returns, you become acutely aware of the bodies pressed against you, their warmth or lack thereof, a crucial indicator of survival. Then, with a jolt of ice-cold dread, you realize that the familiar warmth emanating from one of your companions has gone, replaced, instead, by an unnatural stiffness, an alarming, bone-chilling cold that radiates outward, seeping into your own shivering flesh. You reach out, your fingers fumbling in the darkness, and confirm the unspeakable one or two of your companions, once vibrant with life, have succumbed to the cold, their bodies now frozen solid, monuments to winter's merciless power. This is the moment where the brutal calculus of survival truly reveals its face. Your first, desperate instinct might be to move the body, to push away the chilling presence of death. But you quickly realize the horrifying, impossible truth to shift the frozen weight, to break the carefully constructed thermal seal of the huddle, would be to condemn everyone else in the bedroll to the same fate. The fragile bubble of shared warmth, your only defense against the 22-degree night, would rupture and the cold would rush in, claiming every remaining life. The choice is agonizing. A profound ethical torment: endure the unbearable or condemn the living. So, you don't move. You can't. With a silent scream that echoes only in the confines of your own mind, you are forced to remain, pressed intimately against the unyielding, icy form of your friend, your comrade, perhaps even your brother. You lie there, suspended between the terror of death and the desperate clinging to life, feeling the profound stillness of the corpse beside you. The moments stretch into an eternity, each tick of the frigid night an agonizing reminder of the life that has departed and the lives that still cling by a thread. The silence of the dead body is a terrifying counterpoint to the desperate, shallow breaths of the living. Stories, whispered with a haunted reverence, speak of men like Dead Man Johnson. You hear how he endured 3 unimaginable nights, sleeping pressed against the frozen forms of his companions. 3 nights of profound psychological torment, of constant awareness of the lifeless presence beside him, the crushing weight of their loss mingling with the desperate need for their inert warmth. You try to imagine the toll this would take on a man's soul, the indelible scars etched upon his psyche, far deeper than any frostbite. By dawn, when the first faint streaks of gray light began to pierce the oppressive darkness, the living would finally emerge from their gruesome cocoons. You would rise, stiff and aching, your eyes haunted, your spirit profoundly traumatized, yet undeniably, miraculously, alive. The bodies of the dead would be left behind, stark reminders of the night's brutal cost, their silent forms bearing witness to the immense price paid for survival. The experience would forever alter you, leaving you with a profound understanding of the thin veil between life and death, and the extraordinary, agonizing lengths to which humans would go to simply exist for one more day. The memory of that cold, stiff contact, the smell of death in the confined space, the chilling silence, would never truly leave you. It is a memory that reminds you that survival, in this frozen frontier, often came at an unimaginable, dehumanizing cost, a sacrifice that truly blurred the lines of what it meant to be human. When hypothermia threatened to claim a cowboy, when the subtle whispers of death turned to an undeniable grip, these men refused to surrender to the inevitable. They developed a desperate, profound ritual, a defiant act of communal will, transforming living bodies into a last-ditch furnace to breathe life anew into a freezing soul. This was the human furnace, a method as intimate as it was dangerous, a testament to an unwavering refusal to let death win. Imagine the scene: a man, his body waxy and blue, his breath shallow, his consciousness flickering like a dying candle, is brought to the center of a makeshift circle. His companions, their own bodies weary and chilled, prepare for an extraordinary act of self-sacrifice. You witness them carefully, almost reverently. Position the hypothermic man. Then, two of the healthiest, most vital cowboys, often stripped naked to maximize skin-to-skin contact, lie on either side of him, sandwiching him between their living bodies. You feel the profound vulnerability of this moment, the raw exposure, the complete trust required from both the dying and the living. This ritual of rewarming is a delicate dance with death, a test of patience and precise control, often lasting an agonizing 6 to 8 hours. During this time, the three bodies must remain almost completely still, a single, fused entity, a human warmth engine working against the relentless cold. You feel the profound stillness, the silent concentration, the shared breath that rises and falls with a fragile rhythm. The goal is to transfer body heat slowly, gradually, precisely, preventing the shock of too rapid rewarming. The risks are immense. Too much heat, transferred too quickly, could send the struggling heart into cardiac arrest, extinguishing the fragile spark of life instantly. Too little, or if the process is interrupted, and the man will simply slide back into the cold's embrace, lost forever. It is a precise, agonizing negotiation with the very physiology of life and death. An act of faith guided by an instinct honed by countless trials. Legends emerged from these desperate acts, none more poignant than that of Lazarus Pete, a man whose survival defied all logic. You hear his story whispered around the campfire. He was revived not once, but an astonishing 4 times from the brink of death. Each time, he claimed to remember floating above his own body, a disembodied spirit observing the desperate efforts of his companions. His eyes, you imagine, held a distant, haunted quality, a reflection of the veil he had repeatedly crossed. Modern science, with its advanced understanding of human physiology, now acknowledges the rare but very real possibility of surviving such profound hypothermia through controlled rewarming, confirming the extraordinary effectiveness of these cowboys' desperate, intuitive methods. They were performing what we now understand as a crude, yet remarkably effective, form of advanced first aid, driven by nothing but observation and an unbreakable will. As you witness or participate in such a revival, the atmosphere is thick with tension, with hope, and with an almost unbearable suspense. You feel the cool skin slowly, imperceptibly, begin to warm, the shallow breathing deepen, the faint pulse strengthen. Every small sign of returning life is met with a collective, silent sigh of relief. The air in the bedroll is heavy with the mingled sense of sweat and cold, of life and the lingering shadow of death. You understand that this isn't just about physical survival. It is about an almost spiritual defiance, a profound statement of human solidarity against the crushing indifference of nature. These men, through their shared sacrifice and unwavering determination, refused to let a life be stolen by the cold without a fight. And as the man slowly stirs, pulled back from the brink, you feel a profound sense of awe, a quiet understanding that in this brutal world, the warmth of human connection truly held the power to resurrect. When the cold reached its most desperate, unforgiving depths, and even the faithful horse proved insufficient as a sole source of warmth, the cowboys of the frozen frontier pushed the boundaries of survival to an unimaginable extreme. You begin to understand that when death's icy grip tightened, any living creature, regardless of its size or nature, became a potential source of life, blurring the lines between human ingenuity and primal, desperate instinct. Imagine yourself in a blizzard, the world a blinding, freezing white, every breath a struggle against the piercing wind. Your horse, though warm, might not be enough. So, you look to other, larger beasts of burden, the immense, shaggy oxen, or even the cattle themselves, whose sheer bulk and internal heat offered a more substantial, if riskier, refuge. You would burrow under their bellies, seeking the thick, muscled warmth, pressing your shivering body against their hides. The heavy, earthy smell of the animal fills your nostrils, mingled with the crisp, clean scent of snow. A powerful, visceral reminder of your utter dependence on these creatures. You feel their deep, rhythmic breathing, the subtle shifting of their enormous weight, a constant awareness of the immense power above you. But this act of desperate survival came with its own terrifying set of perils. To ensure you wouldn't be dislodged by a sudden movement or the animal simply wandering away, men resorted to an even more extreme measure, tying themselves to the animal. You picture the scene with a chilling dread, a rope wrapped around your waist, then lashed to a leg or flank of the beast, making you an unyielding part of its massive form. This ensured a continuous supply of warmth, but it also meant surrendering all control, becoming utterly bound to the animal's fate. The terrifying thought lingered, what if the animal, exhausted by the relentless storm or weakened by the cold, were to simply collapse in its sleep, who, tied inextricably beneath its immense body, would be crushed, suffocated, your desperate quest for warmth ending in a gruesome, unavoidable demise. The silent, heavy thud of a collapsing ox could be the last sound you ever heard. Yet, even these extreme measures sometimes paled in comparison to the ultimate, most horrifying act of desperation. Whispers, dark and chilling, circulated around the campfires on truly brutal nights. Stories of cowboys, pushed past the limits of sanity and survival, who, upon finding an animal freshly killed by the cold, or perhaps even taking one down themselves in a moment of utter desperation, would resort to the unthinkable. You hear the tales of men cutting into the still warm carcass, tearing open its belly, and crawling inside its steaming interior to shelter within its guts, using the internal heat and thick walls of flesh as a final, gruesome refuge against the merciless cold. You imagine the visceral heat, the overpowering smell of blood and entrails, the profound horror and revulsion battling with the primal instinct to simply stay alive. It is an image that churns your stomach, a stark reminder of the lengths to which humanity can be pushed when facing absolute annihilation. This method, though successful for a desperate few, undeniably blurred the fragile line between survival and madness. You question the psychological toll, the enduring nightmares, the profound transformation a man must undergo to commit such an act. You wonder what part of their soul remained intact after crawling into the belly of another creature to survive. As you lie in your bedroll, listening to the vast, empty silence of the night, perhaps feeling the faint warmth of your own horse nearby, you feel the profound weight of these stories, the desperate ingenuity, the chilling sacrifices, the terrifying willingness to embrace the grotesque, all become part of the dark tapestry of the frozen frontier. You understand that in this world, where nature offered no quarter, the human spirit, however broken or transformed, found ways to cling to life, even if it meant becoming something utterly unrecognizable in the process. You now stand in the aftermath of the human furnace, a silent witness to a phenomenon that defied explanation. An experience so profound, it reshaped belief and etched itself into the very fabric of the frontier's lore. Those who were pulled back from the icy clutches of death, those who returned from the brink of oblivion through the desperate, shared warmth of their companions, were forever changed. They were not merely survivors, they were Lazarus men, named after the biblical figure resurrected from the dead. Their very existence a miracle, a testament to an almost supernatural endurance. Imagine the hushed reverence, the mixture of awe and fear that surrounded these individuals. Their return was not always a simple reawakening. Many claim to have experienced vivid, profound visions during their near-death states. You hear their whispered stories. Some spoke of brilliant, unearthly fires, a warmth beyond earthly comprehension, contrasting sharply with the cold that had almost claimed them. Others recalled encounters with ethereal angels, guiding spirits, or perhaps, most poignantly, reunion with long-lost relatives, their faces clear and loving, beckoning from a place beyond mortal reach. These visions, whether products of a freezing brain or genuine glimpses into another realm, added to their mystique, marking them as men who had touched the other side. Yet, the return was not always a gentle one, nor without its profound costs. For some, the journey back left them profoundly damaged. You might see a Lazarus man, whose eyes, once clear, now held a vacant, distant stare. Their minds, ravaged by the cold, might never fully recover. Some returned brain-damaged, unable to speak, their voices forever silenced, their memories shattered, living out their days as silent, haunted observers. They were physical presences, yet their essence, their very selves, seemed to have remained partly in that other, icy dimension. The profound psychological and physiological toll of being dragged back from death was immense and often irreversible. Lazarus Pete, the man who defied death 4 times, carried an even heavier burden. You hear his chilling confession, spoken in a voice that seemed to echo from far away each time he was pulled back. Each time his companions wrestled him from the cold's embrace, he swore he lost a piece of his soul. You try to comprehend the weight of such a statement, the profound spiritual cost of repeatedly confronting annihilation. His eyes, you imagine, were not only haunted by visions, but by the deep, irreparable cracks in his own spirit, fragments left behind in the void. He was a living paradox, a testament to endurance, yet a ghost of his former self. In this harsh, unyielding world, where survival was a daily struggle, the very existence of Lazarus men ignited a fierce, almost desperate, faith among the crews. You witness their profound reverence, their quiet awe. For them, these men were living proof that God walked among them, that divine intervention was possible, even in the most desolate corners of the earth. Their survival became a beacon of hope, a powerful narrative of resilience that transcended mere human effort. They were seen as sacred, their lives imbued with a supernatural significance, reminding everyone that even in the face of absolute despair, there was always a chance for resurrection, a whisper of the miraculous. As you reflect on the Lazarus nights, the image of bodies pressed together in a desperate struggle, the haunted eyes of those who returned, and the profound questions they raised lingers in your mind. You feel the chill of the unknown, the mystery of the human spirit's capacity to endure and to return, even from the very threshold of death. The air around you, though cold, seems to carry the faint echoes of their visions, the whispers of what lies beyond. You understand that in this frozen frontier, survival was not just a physical battle, but a profound spiritual odyssey, where men wrestled with their bodies, their minds, and their very souls to drag themselves and each other back from the silent embrace of death. When the primal urge for warmth met the unyielding ingenuity of the frontier cowboy, the simple fire pit evolved into something truly extraordinary, the underground furnace. This wasn't merely a hole in the ground. It was an intricate act of engineering, a masterpiece of heat distribution, turning the earth itself into a silent, radiating hearth. You come to understand that mastering fire meant not just lighting a flame, but controlling its very essence, shaping its warmth to banish the cold without consuming those it protected. Imagine the meticulous labor, the sheer force of will required to dig not just one pit, but a complex network of interconnected fire pits beneath the frozen ground. This was a task demanding immense physical endurance, often requiring 12 or more hours of relentless digging into rock-hard soil, chiseling away at the unforgiving earth with crude tools. You feel the strain in your back, the ache in your shoulders, but the vision of sustained warmth propels you forward. Each channel, each tunnel, was carefully excavated, designed to carry heat from a central firebox throughout the subterranean network. The true genius of these underground furnaces lay in their ability to distribute warmth evenly, creating a consistent, gentle heat that permeated the ground above. Air channels, painstakingly carved and strategically placed, allowed the hot air and smoke to circulate, radiating warmth through the earth and into the bedrolls above, without exposing the sleepers to the dangers of open flame or the insidious threat of carbon monoxide. You feel the subtle, consistent warmth rising from the ground, a pervasive comfort that penetrates your clothes and warms you to your core. There is no visible flame, no direct heat to scorch or burn, only the silent, invisible embrace of warmth that seems to emanate from the very earth itself. This precision construction required not only immense effort, but also a profound, intuitive understanding of geometry and thermal dynamics. The fire builders, as they became known, were not just cowboys. They were frontier engineers, their knowledge born of countless observations, failures, and triumphs. Their skills were legendary, their ingenuity invaluable. You hear stories of these masters earning fortunes, their expertise sought after by every camp and trail boss who understood the life-saving potential of their creations. A camp equipped with one of these intricate underground furnaces thrived, its occupants able to rest and recover, their livestock protected, while others, less fortunate or less skilled, succumbed to the relentless cold, their lives extinguished in the merciless grip of winter. You settle into your bedroll, positioned carefully above one of these invisible furnaces. The warmth that rises from below is unlike any you have experienced from a simple campfire. It is deep, permeating, a comforting presence that seems to wrap around you, soothing your aching muscles and chasing away the deep-seated chill. There is no crackle or hiss of burning wood, only a silent, almost palpable warmth that radiates steadily, reliably, for days on end. The absence of smoke, the lack of direct flame, means you breathe clean, warm air, unburdened by the usual discomforts of a surface fire. As you lie there, you reflect on the profound intelligence and resilience that conceived and executed such a system. It is a testament to humanity's unyielding will to survive, to transform even the most hostile environments into havens of safety. The underground furnace is more than just a heating system. It is a symbol of mastery, a quiet defiance against the overwhelming power of nature. You feel a sense of security, a profound gratitude for the ingenuity of those who came before you. Those who learned to harness the earth's own embrace, to create fire without flame, and in doing so, offered a lifeline against the silent, freezing death that permeated the frozen frontier. When the cold became a physical entity, a relentless pressure against the very fabric of life, some cowboys turned to a desperate alchemy, transforming alcohol into a precise, almost scientific, fuel for survival. This was not the drunken oblivion of a saloon, but a calculated strategy, a drunken science where the precise sequencing of different spirits became a ritual, a delicate dance with intoxication and internal combustion. Imagine the scene: a small collection of bottles, each holding a different potent liquid whiskey, rum, pure grain alcohol laid out with the solemnity of a pharmacist's tools. You watch as a cowboy, his face grim with determination, meticulously measures out specific doses. He understands, with an intuitive knowledge born of harsh experience, that each type of alcohol hits the bloodstream differently, initiating a unique physiological response. The goal isn't immediate, intense warmth, but a sustained, regulated internal heat, carefully staggered to last through the brutal hours of the night. You feel the profound focus, the almost meditative concentration, as he prepares his nightly regimen. The first drink, perhaps a shot of robust whiskey, delivers a quick, fiery rush, a spreading warmth that signals the start of the internal furnace. Then, at a precise interval, another spirit, perhaps a smoother rum, is consumed, its effects designed to prolong the warmth as the initial flush begins to fade. Finally, a shot of potent, pure grain alcohol, the most dangerous of the concoctions, is taken at the deepest, coldest point of the night, around 2 a.m., to ignite a final, powerful surge of heat that carries the body through until the first hint of dawn. You feel the distinct sensations of each, the varying burns, the spreading warmth, a carefully orchestrated symphony of internal heat. Legends, almost unbelievable, spoke of figures like Chemical Pete. You hear his story whispered with a mixture of awe and bewilderment, a man who could work shirtless in temperatures plummeting to 40 degrees, his breath crystallizing in the air with such intensity that it would sting the eyes of his fully clothed companions. He moved with a chilling efficiency, seemingly immune to the cold, his body a self-regulating heat engine fueled by this precise, dangerous regimen. You try to imagine the sensation, the feeling of such extreme cold on bare skin, yet the internal fire raging within, a testament to his unique metabolism and his mastery of this bizarre science. What truly set the masters of this method apart was their uncanny ability to control the intoxicating effects. You observe them, their movements steady, their eyes clear, showing no outward signs of drunkenness, even after consuming amounts of alcohol that would render an ordinary man unconscious or incoherent. Their minds remained sharp, their judgment unclouded, a testament to their profound self-awareness and disciplined timing. They understood their bodies with an almost scientific precision, knowing exactly how much and when to consume each potent spirit. Yet, this dangerous mastery came with an unforgiving truth: one error in timing, one miscalculation in dosage, and the consequences were immediate and absolute. You understand that a single misstep meant not just discomfort, but a swift, inescapable death. Too much alcohol, or consumed too quickly, risked alcohol poisoning, shutting down vital organs, ironically leaving the body even more vulnerable to the cold it was trying to fight. Too little, or at the wrong moment, and the body's internal furnace would simply die, succumbing to the relentless, silent grip of the freezing frontier. It was a perilous tightrope walk between chemical warmth and chemical death. As you consider this desperate alchemy, the sharp scent of raw alcohol seems to linger in the crisp air, a reminder of the extraordinary lengths to which these men pushed their bodies and minds. You feel the profound respect for their knowledge, their discipline, and their unyielding will to survive. The drunken science of survival is a testament to the raw ingenuity of the frontier cowboy. A chilling example of how, when faced with absolute annihilation, they found new, daring ways to coax life from the very edge of oblivion. When the knowledge of the Earth's elements met an almost mystical understanding of pattern, the simple act of heating stones evolved into a breathtaking display of ancient geometry, a profound ritual of heat retention that defied simple explanation. You learn that some cowboys, guided by an almost forgotten wisdom, transformed crude heated rocks into intricate stone circles, harnessing fire's energy with a precision that borders on the magical. Imagine Professor Williams, a man whose quiet demeanor belied a profound, almost scholarly, understanding of the land and its secrets. You watch as he meticulously arranges 15 to 20 stones, not randomly, but into precise geometric patterns around his sleeping area. These weren't just piles of rocks. They were constellations of survival, each stone carefully chosen, each placement intentional, forming intricate designs that might, to the untrained eye, resemble ancient pagan rituals. You feel the intense focus, the almost sacred reverence with which he approaches this task, as if he is communicating with the very spirit of the earth. The true marvel of these stone circles lay in their astonishing ability to amplify and retain heat, once heated, either by a small, carefully tended fire within the circle or by placing hot embers among them. These patterned stones became incredibly efficient radiators. The specific geometric arrangements, perhaps drawing on principles of sacred geometry or simply centuries of empirical observation, somehow enhance their thermal properties, allowing them to absorb and then slowly release warmth over an astonishing duration. You imagine the silent, radiating power, a soft, pervasive heat that seemed to hum from the very ground itself. Professor Williams's bed, situated within the heart of one of his perfectly formed stone circles, became a sanctuary of improbable warmth. You hear the astounding claim his sleeping area would consistently stay a remarkable 40 degrees warmer than the biting, sub-zero air outside. This was not a fleeting comfort, but a profound, sustained warmth, transforming a potential death trap into a haven of rest and recovery. You try to picture the contrast, the freezing winds howling just beyond the circle, while within, a gentle, pervasive heat shielded the sleeper from harm. The knowledge of these stone circles, however, proved to be a fragile secret, passed down through generations but never fully documented or understood. You learn that despite numerous attempts by modern experts, no one has been able to successfully replicate the precise thermal efficiency of Professor Williams' designs. The exact combination of stone type, arrangement, and perhaps even the ritualistic care with which they were constructed, remains a lost art, a testament to a unique blend of frontier ingenuity and an almost spiritual connection to the land. You feel a pang of melancholy, realizing that such profound, life-saving wisdom could simply vanish with the passing of its practitioners. As you reflect on these mysterious stone circles, the image of their silent, geometric patterns lingers in your mind, a testament to a profound, intuitive science that predated modern understanding. You feel the ghost of an ancient knowledge, a deep connection to the earth and its hidden energies. The idea of fire, harnessed not through brute force, but through elegant design, through a quiet understanding of its geometry, speaks volumes about the depth of human ingenuity when pushed to the absolute brink. You understand that in this frozen wilderness, survival was not just about brute strength or daring courage, but often about a subtle, almost spiritual, mastery of the natural world. A quiet whisper of wisdom carved in stone, defying the relentless, all-consuming cold. The buffalo coat, a formidable barrier against the elements, was not merely a garment on the frozen frontier. For some, it became a sacred object, a vessel of survival imbued with ritual and profound personal connection. You learn that beyond simply donning the heavy hide, certain cowboys performed elaborate, almost mystical rituals, believing they could enhance the coat's protective power, transforming it into an even more potent shield against the relentless cold. Imagine the figure of Ritual Roberts, a man whose very name speaks of his unique approach to survival. You watch as he performs his nightly preparation, a meticulous process that takes 2 full hours before he can even think of resting. He doesn't just wear his buffalo coat, he actively nurtures it every single night. You see him carefully coating the entire hide with a fresh layer of animal fat. This isn't just a practical measure to repel water. It's a ritualistic anointing, a deep connection to the animal from which the hide came. The thick, pungent smell of rendered fat fills the air around him, a constant, visceral presence that clings to his very being. This coating, he believes, revitalizes the hide, enhances its insulating properties, and creates an impenetrable barrier against the 58 degrees temperatures he frequently faces. But Robert's ritual extended beyond the physical treatment of his coat. You learn that he, and others like him, also engaged in strange, specific diets, consuming particular foods and herbs. The belief was that these carefully selected diets could alter their own body odor and the very composition of their sweat. The goal was to create a symbiotic relationship between their body and their coat, perhaps to reduce internal moisture that could freeze, or to create a scent that somehow further enhanced the hide's protective qualities. A subtle biological alchemy. You ponder the profound knowledge or sheer desperation that led men to such intricate, personal experiments with their own physiology. Ritual Roberts, they say, combined the physical act of fat application with his peculiar diet and, crucially, with fervent prayer. His survival in temperatures as low as 58 degrees was legendary, almost unbelievable. You imagine him, wrapped in his meticulously prepared coat, his mind focused, his spirit engaged in a profound act of will, facing down the most brutal blizzards with an uncanny resilience. His coat was not just an outer layer, it was an extension of himself, infused with his desperate intentions and his unwavering faith. Those who witnessed his endurance, who saw him emerge from nights that claimed lesser men, swore by his unique methods. They believed, with a profound conviction, that Ritual Roberts possessed the extraordinary ability to control his own body temperature through sheer willpower alone. You try to grasp such a concept. The idea that the human mind, through intense focus and ritual, could exert such dominion over the body's primal responses to cold. It speaks to a level of mental fortitude and an almost spiritual connection to survival that transcends mere physical endurance. His very existence was a challenge to the conventional understanding of human limits. As you consider the depth of Ritual Roberts' practices, the image of his meticulously prepared coat, the pervasive scent of fat, and the power of his unwavering will combine to paint a picture of survival pushed to its most extreme and personal. You feel the weight of these unique, almost mystical methods, realizing that on the frozen frontier, every possible avenue, every shred of belief, was explored in the relentless quest for life. The buffalo coat, in his hands, was not just a piece of clothing. It was a testament to the profound spirit of resilience, a physical manifestation of a man's refusal to yield to the overwhelming, silent embrace of winter. It became a living, breathing shield, protected not just by its hide, but by the very essence of the man who wore it. Amidst the constant, brutal struggle against the cold, there are certain winters that stand out, not just for their severity, but for their sheer, unyielding ferocity. Seasons etched into the memory of the frontier as pure, unadulterated death. You learn of the winter of 1872 to 73, a time when the very heavens seemed to conspire against humanity, unleashing a siege of cold so extreme, so relentless, that it became the coldest winter on record, a season of profound despair and unimaginable loss. Imagine the relentless onslaught for 3 agonizing months. The temperatures plummeted to an unimaginable 67 degrees, a bitter, soul-numbing chill that rarely offered a moment of reprieve. You try to conceive of such sustained cold, where every breath burned in your lungs, where exposed skin instantly froze, where the very air felt like shards of ice. It was a cold that did not merely bite. It consumed, slowly, insidiously, stripping away warmth, hope, and ultimately, life itself. The landscape was transformed into a monochromatic tableau of white and gray, shrouded in a pervasive, heavy silence, broken only by the mournful howl of the wind. The toll on human life was catastrophic. Over 2,000 settlers and cowboys, caught unprepared or simply overwhelmed by the unprecedented severity of the cold, perished in its relentless grip. You picture the countless lives extinguished, the dreams shattered, the families broken by this merciless season. Their stories, untold and largely forgotten, are whispered on the icy winds, a chilling testament to the brutal indifference of nature. Entire towns, once bustling hubs of frontier life, found themselves completely snowed in, buried under drifts so deep they swallowed houses whole. Supply lines, the very lifelines of civilization, were severed, isolating communities, cutting them off from food, medicine, and any hope of assistance. The feeling of utter isolation, of being abandoned to the elements, must have been a crushing weight on the hearts of those trapped within. In this landscape of despair, a stark contrast emerged, illuminating the profound difference that knowledge, preparation, and sheer willpower could make. While many perished, and entire herds of cattle froze in their tracks, you hear of certain herds, tended by skilled crews who had mastered the extreme survival methods you have learned about, that miraculously emerged alive from this season of death. These were the men who knew how to build the underground furnaces, who understood the secrets of the stone circles, who embraced the desperate buddy system, and who knew how to turn whiskey into a life-sustaining fuel. Their resilience, their ingenuity, and their refusal to surrender allowed them to defy the odds, to wrestle life from the very jaws of oblivion. You reflect on the profound lessons embedded in the tales of the winter of 1872 to 73. It was a season that laid bare the vulnerability of human existence, but also revealed the extraordinary strength of the human spirit when pushed beyond its perceived limits. The sheer scale of death is a sobering reminder of nature's power. Yet the survival of those few, those who held fast to their hard-won knowledge, stands as a beacon of hope and a testament to their unwavering determination. As you feel the chill of the air around you, you understand that this was not merely a historical event, but a profound, timeless narrative of humanity's enduring struggle against the forces of nature. A chilling chapter in the unending story of survival. The echoes of that brutal winter, the profound silence, and the resilience it forged, still resonate in the vast, frozen heart of the frontier. As the frontier slowly receded, as the railroads connected distant outposts and new technologies began to emerge, the desperate, hard-won knowledge of the frozen cowboy began its quiet, inevitable retreat. You realize, with a melancholic pang, that the very advancements meant to bring comfort and progress ultimately led to the vanishing of an entire body of profound, life-saving wisdom. The ancient ways, forged in fire and ice, were simply no longer needed. Imagine the turn of the 20th century, a time of rapid change. Modern stoves replaced the dangerous fire pits, and insulated homes rendered snow caves and buffalo coats increasingly obsolete. As comfort became more accessible, the brutal necessity that birthed these extreme survival methods began to fade. The men who held these secrets, the fire builders, the greasemen, the Lazarus men, these living encyclopedias of cold weather survival, were growing old. One by one, they passed away, taking with them the intimate details, the subtle nuances, the precise calculations that constituted their extraordinary knowledge. By the early 1900s, the last of these true masters were gone, their wisdom largely unrecorded, replaced by the convenience of a modernizing world. You search for traces of their knowledge, sifting through dusty journals and faded letters. You find mentions, tantalizing fragments of their methods, a brief note about sleeping with horses, a passing reference to heated stones, a cryptic line about wrestling the devil in a bedroll, but never, infuriatingly, in full, comprehensive detail. The precise geometry of the stone circles, the exact blend of Morrison's grease, the nuanced timing of the alcohol sequence, the critical construction details of the underground furnaces, these invaluable specifics remained locked away, lost to time, known only to those who lived and died by them. It is a profound loss, a library of wisdom burned away by the fires of progress. Centuries later, as modern survival schools grapple with extreme cold weather scenarios, they stumble upon these scattered fragments of information. You can almost feel their shock, their profound astonishment, as they begin to rediscover pieces of what these cowboys intuitively understood. Modern experts, armed with scientific instruments and advanced physiological knowledge, are forced to admit a humbling truth: the frontier cowboys, relying on nothing but observation, trial and error, and an indomitable will, often surpassed modern endurance standards. They were performing advanced survival techniques decades, if not a century, before formal science began to codify them. Their resilience was not just anecdotal, it was demonstrably superior. As you reflect on this forgotten knowledge, you feel a sense of reverence for what was lost, and a profound respect for those who held it. The crisp air seems to carry the faint echoes of their whispers, the ghost of their wisdom. You realize that sometimes the relentless march of progress, while bringing comfort, can also inadvertently erase invaluable lessons learned in the crucible of extreme necessity. The frontier cowboys' knowledge, though vanished from common practice, remains a powerful, silent testament to human ingenuity and resilience. A stark reminder that some lessons, forged in the purest fire of survival, are simply too profound to be truly forgotten, even if their details are now just whispers in the wind. As our journey through the frozen frontier draws to a close, you are left with a profound understanding, an undeniable truth etched into the landscape and into the spirit of those who dared to defy it. These cowboys, ordinary men facing extraordinary circumstances, proved beyond any doubt that humans could endure the impossible. Their story is not just one of survival techniques, it is a timeless testament to the unyielding power of the human spirit. Imagine the vast, silent plains, stretching endlessly under a sky that offered no mercy. There was no rescue coming, no safety net to catch them if they fell, no warm cabins waiting at the end of a long, cold day. There was only the absolute, unwavering refusal to quit. You feel the profound weight of that choice, the constant, conscious decision to push on, to fight for every breath, every moment of warmth, every glimpse of the rising sun. Their survival was a triumph of will, a defiant roar against the overwhelming indifference of nature. It was an enduring lesson that the battle for life is not just fought with brawn or skill, but with an internal fortitude that refuses to bend, to break, or to surrender. Their desperate ingenuity, their intuitive understanding of the body and the environment, forged in the crucible of extreme cold, formed the very roots of what we now recognize as modern survival training. You see echoes of their buddy system in modern hypothermia protocols, their understanding of heat retention in today's thermal blankets, their resourcefulness in every lesson taught about making fire or seeking shelter. Though their specific rituals and complex methods may have vanished, the fundamental principles they discovered, the power of shared warmth, the critical importance of staying dry, the need for internal heat, resonate through every contemporary guide to cold weather survival. They were the pioneers of extreme endurance, their lives a living laboratory for what it truly meant to face the ultimate challenge. Above all, the legacy of the frozen frontier is a powerful, quiet reminder that knowledge, preparation, and an unyielding willpower are the greatest tools against even the most formidable adversaries. You feel the quiet strength of their determination, the profound courage that allowed them to face down death every single night. They teach you that while techniques are important, the mindset, the sheer will to persevere, is often the most critical factor. It is a lesson that transcends the snow-covered plains and speaks to the universal human capacity for resilience. These cowboys didn't just fight winter. They wrestled with its relentless grip. They faced its chilling indifference. They defied its cruel power. And against all odds, they conquered it. As you close your eyes, you feel the quiet echo of their struggles, the faint, lingering warmth of their indomitable spirit, and the profound, enduring truth that even in the face of absolute annihilation, the human will, driven by the knowledge of how to endure, can always find a way to meet another dawn.